Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have a nice attacking game to share with you from the 2012 Chinese Chess Championship. On the white end, Ding Liren, and he's playing against Lu Shanglei. We have on board a Queen's Gambit declined, 3 knights. D takes C4 signals the Vienna variation. White now has a central majority 2-1, and it is set into motion right away and in the most aggressive way with E4. With E4, white is willing to play this position as a gambit. That's what we observe in this game. If white wants to play this position balanced material, the pawn would go one step, and white regains the pawn without a struggle. Okay, in this game it's E4, bishop B4 pinning the knight, bishop takes C, knight takes E, castles. Knight takes knight, pawn takes knight. Let's pause for a moment. Black has just won a pawn. And I'd like to throw under the microscope the one piece exchange that just occurred there. It was not just knight for knight. It was black's king knight for white's queen knight. I think we do well to add these identifiers to certain pieces. Why am I drawing attention to this? Well, without the king knight, without black's king knight, the kingside could be that much more vulnerable. A king knight on f6 is a great defender. Look at the squares it controls. G4, H5. Might the queen now be thinking about being deployed to the kingside, making use of those squares? It watches over from f6 the h7 square. Might there be sacrifices on h7? It can be a sorely missed piece not having the king knight when the king knight is traded for the queen knight. Additionally, if we look at some the tempi in the position or the tempi of the remaining knights, the king knight is just a blink away from entering white's kingside and being a pest one way or the other. And it's going to require the white queen knight to take 2 tempi before it could maybe fulfill the role of the king knight, getting to f6. Time is a very important factor in positions like this with gambit play. So, a couple things to keep in mind there. Now, at this point, black should feel full, not go ahead and eat another pawn on c3. The best move is the move played in the game, bishop to e7, well, really one of these two, withdrawing the bishop, watching over knight g5, or maybe knight to e5. Bishop e7 was played in this game. However, I want to draw some attention to this line here. Suppose black is picking up this second pawn. My initial impression of this position was, oh, the idea is to now get on this diagonal since it's been abandoned after bishop takes on c3. Be willing, in other words, to give up even more material and try to do something along these beautiful diagonals one day. Not the best way to go, because black could say, I've had enough. I'm not going to take any more material. I'm going to play a5, look to cut out the bishop, and finally look forward to castling. Okay, the best continuation would be to play rook b1 if black is winning the second pawn. The best continuation c5, but let's see what would happen after castles. Black is already losing. And here's a line or two that you may find appealing. Rook b3. While black has won that second pawn, white is now winning an extremely valuable tempo against the bishop. And soon, this rook is going to act like a tank in the attack against the black kingside, pivoting on g3 or h3. Suppose this knight tries to come to the rescue, too late. There's a sacrifice on h7, and it's already a mate in 3. f6, you take here, etc. Some other line, suppose black tries to scare the knight. It's not easily scared. Rook g3. White could afford to give up material. If it's not captured, you could move the knight maybe. Capture on h6. Let's see what happens after the capture here. A queen move, bishop f6 is crushing. f6, this is still crushing. d5, that's as far as I'm going. This position is getting broken down. Winning for white. I want to give you an idea of how you can be proceeding against a player who's greedy, taking on c3. Anyhow, move played in the game, bishop to e7. We can't make use of g5, so we go to e5, paving the way for the queen to enter the scene. There's not a king-knight around, watching over that square. There's now a pin against the g-pawn. This is where black goes wrong. Move 10, he goes with c5. It seems natural enough, challenging the center, opening up the queen maybe to put pressure on the knight, opening lines. But it's a little bit too slow. Considered best is knight to c6. This is something I found instructive in preparing for this video. What is the idea with knight c6? I thought to myself, why are you giving white the opportunity to maybe damage the structure like this? Isn't the idea to play knight takes knight? The idea is not really to play knight takes knight, because that would invite a pawn into the mix, and having control over f6 would mean that the bishop isn't able to sit on the f6 square. From that point, it's an important defender of g7. So what is the point behind knight to c6? Here it is, just to fill you in. It is to next play knight e7 and transfer itself to either g6 or f5, interfering with the coordination on g7, maybe just looking to kick the bishop away. A key defensive resource that black has here. This is a position that Carlsen had as white against Kramnik. Kramnik went with this move and was successful with it. And by successful, I mean he went on to win, not just draw. So it's a very strong defensive resource, not caring about double isolated queenside pawns. That's one less attacking piece black would have to worry about. In any event, knight c6 was not played. In this game, it's c5. And you may already consider this a winning attack at this point, 11 moves in. Not much choice. Bishop f6 to defend g7. Bishop d3. There's no fear of winning the bishop. This guy has an important role, defending g7, so it's no longer there. That's going to lead to mate. So what do? Rook to e8. That's the move played in the game. White does have a threat. If you try capture on d4, knight c6, knight d7, all of those moves are met with queen e4, forming a battery. How do you stop the queen from getting to h7? You'd have to play g6 and then your rook would fall. So we see the point now behind rook to e8, paving the way for g6 without dropping the exchange. Now comes f4. So nearby, before even f4 is played, white is already close to just destroying the kingside, just starting to sacrifice pieces. So for example, there are already moves like bishop takes h7, not winning, but it's close. Capturing there, capturing here, giving a check, taking here with check. White has at minimum a perpetual and is so close to having a third piece enter the attack, but it's a little too slow. In these variations, white wants to be able to make a rook move to the third rank right now, but doesn't have that option. So with f4, white is now in a position to go with the rook lift. This is not just about defending a knight or supporting a piece on g5. That actually shows up later on in the game, some bishop g5 move. f4 is about getting this rook into the attack. There's already 4 pieces and a 5th is right around the corner. Okay, from here it's g6. White is able to now smash through on the king side. Bishop takes g6. F takes G6. Notice white is taking first with the bishop, so that when the knight takes, this is going to be the more aggressive remaining piece in the position. Tough to ignore it. Tough to not capture it here. We have discoveries. The knight jumping back to E5 if it's declined. For example, King F7, there are these moves where you could look to coordinate on F7. This is a crushing attack for white. If black is declining the knight in this position, okay, in the game, black goes ahead and wins the knight. So white has sacrificed 2 minor pieces and only gotten 2 pawns, but where is the king's shelter? A winning attack is what we have here. All spectators on the queen side. From here, bishop G5. This is a very nice move, eliminating a key defender for the king side. And nearby we have this. What do you do about that? In the game, it's bishop takes bishop. Here's one important line. Rook to F8. I want to show this line because there are a couple only moves that lead white to victory. And it runs like this. After rook F3, if bishop takes bishop, we would give this check, another check, win the bishop. And what do we do if the king tries to run? This is an only move, queen H5. An only move that would win, queen H5 with an eye on C5. And then another only move, rook H7, cutting off the king, paving the way for queen H5, a mate and 2 threat right around the corner. There's no defense here. No minor piece move will stop queen H5, queen F7. And if, well, the queen can't go too far, she has a responsibility, fending off mate on E7. Any rook lift to F7 or F5 allows rook H8. This is winning for team white. So in the game, instead of rook F8, it is bishop takes bishop. We, of course, take with the pawn, not exchanging queens. Rook E7, looking for some defense along the 7th rank. Queen H6, there's no time to block in this position with rook H7 because rook F8 and mate next move. So king G8, and now G6. There is a third attacker in this position. It is not just the queen and the rook attacking. This pawn plays a key role. It's almost like it's worth 3 points, maybe more. So, and what are these guys doing on the queen side? No good solution here for black. It's easy to go wrong as white. I've been drawing attention to some rook lift. A rook lift at this point would spoil the win for white. And the best that could come about would be a draw if rook F3. Why is this the case? Well, the rook could play to H7, check, G7. White would actually have to be a little bit careful here, not going back to H6. That would be winning for black because of queen takes G5. The queen would have to go to H5. Now this would be poison. Rook takes pawn is going to lead to a mate and a few. Rook H3 nearby. And if queen takes pawn, black's going to have to give up the queen soon. This would be winning for white. My point here is that the best for both sides would be a perpetual if white is playing rook F3 right now. If white allows rook H7, so what is the pawn move doing? It's stopping rook to H7. It's also paving the way for rook F7. That could hit. In this game, knight D7 is played. If rook G7, the rook could already enter. Rook takes, pawn takes, king takes, and this is going to be winning for white. King here, check. Wherever the king goes, the rook is just going to give check. The queen will soon be lost, and probably the bishop. And then black is in a pin. Okay. In the game, knight D7, rook F3 only now. Knight F8, doubling on the F file. Knight takes pawn, rook G3, rook G7, rook takes knight. That's the final move of the game. Black resigns. there's nothing to do here. Threatening mate in 1. Rook takes rook. There's queen takes rook. And once more, we have some rook lift. At this point, we could go all the way to the 7th. Mate in 2 from here. Some other try. This one, maybe. You could play rook f3. That's considered best. It's reading a mate in 10. I think many players might go straight in for rook f6, knowing that you're going to be winning the queen soon. And winning the queen is going to be a win. So how might this flow? You could do something like this and start running with the h-pawn. Yeah, this is absolutely winning. So plenty of ways to do it at this point. These guys are just not around at all to defend, and a beautiful attacking game. It was what I found interesting was how this f-pawn ended up turning out to play a very key role in the attack as the position started to simplify little by little. No minor pieces on board. That pawn really did seem to act like it was a minor piece for white, or worth at least a minor piece for white in the attack. Anyhow, let's have a look at the tail of the tape on this one, and we could see how clean a game it was for Ding Liren. If we have a look at the inaccuracies, this is the main issue with black's play, going with c5 rather than knight to c6, with the idea to swing over to e7 and then either f5 or g6. That was the inaccuracy, and it's a difficult task ahead at that point for black to defend. Accuracy for Lu Shanglei, 86, and 95 Ding Liren. So anyhow, as usual, feel free to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed it, and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.